Economists have studied for a long time financial incentives and understand that they can have predictable ways to shape people's behavior and decisions. But what we now want to go to is an understanding how we can shape behavior with time-limited interventions. Put it another way, if I pay you to do something, you will do so because it is in your financial benefit for a while. But what happens if I take this reward away? Will you continue to do it, or will you relapse to your prior behavior? We now know that there are ways to design these incentives that keep you on that path of behavioral change even though financial incentives have been removed. A key application of these time-limited financial incentives is now in the health domain. The Affordable Care Act now gives a legal background that has shaped many decisions both inside insurance companies but independently inside organizations where they use financial incentives to help their employees to make healthier decisions. And here the key challenge is that what can we do that shapes these decisions with time-limited interventions? A key example of that are diabetics who are at high risk of cardiac arrest or cardiovascular diseases. They have prescriptions, but they often fail to take them, even though if they have a heart attack, they regret the decision of not having taken their medication. So the question is, what can we do to help these patients to take their medication? Because it is not only in their own interest, but it is very expensive if they have a heart attack and end up in the emergency room, and this will be a very costly intervention for the whole risk of the organization. We have studied financial incentives for patients that have a statin prescription. We pay them to take their medication. This is possible now with advances in technology where we use remote pill boxes that send through a transponder and the cellular system information to us whether people have taken the medication or not. And in this way, we can condition feedback and payment to them. We now know that if we use these incentives not only to target the pill taking, but also to design the incentives in a way that generate a deeper understanding of the health consequences, or that forces people to think more about their health, they are more beneficial for long-term behavioral change. An example of this is a study where we try, on the one hand, paying people to take their medication, but on the other hand, in another group, we pay them, but we pay them more if they take the medication before they receive a reminder from us. This gives them an added benefit here to take their medication, but it teaches them to be more autonomous and learn to behave in a way that is in keeping with their prescription and build a routine. So all these studies are still a nascent research agenda. It builds on understanding that incentives do work, but patients typically relapse to prior behavior once they have been discontinued. But we now also know that cognitive load, which means that we force people to think, can have beneficial long-term consequences. And this is a combination of these two approaches, the financial reward, but also a financial incentive to think that could yield to these long-term behavioral changes that we hope to see. All my research uses these financial rewards, but they use them in a way where we do not really interact directly with the individual members. Instead, what we rely on are new gadgets, technologies that help us to remotely monitor people and give them conditional feedback, tailored feedback to their current behavior and their current needs. And the frontier here is twofold. One, that these gadgets become even less intrusive than they are today, that they become part of the body, as much as they might be just part of a smartphone. On the other hand, we will build more and more ideas from machine learning inside, so we can tailor the intervention much more closely to people's current data and their current needs. This is still something that is new, and we don't quite know how to build that in the system now, but this is well understood to be within reach in the next 5 years.